of 7. We're going to be starting off in the top right-hand corner with the blue Terran player from the lower bracket. So he starts down a map. Is going to be our Team Liquid Terran Clem.
In the bottom left is the red Protoss for Storm. He is MaxPax.
One lead feels good. Benefit from the winner's bracket. And of course, MaxPax, last time he got to the grand finals, he played against Cyril, but he also came from the lower bracket, so he was down a map. And a hard-fought series as well. So, be cool to see if he can get it done with that 1-0 lead today. Turn that into a regional championship for himself.
I mean, it certainly feels nicer not to have to play that extra game, possibly versus Clem, but it is, you know, actually the start of the series. There was no game that you guys missed, and that is very important to note, not just for understanding, but also just to understand that the person who has momentum here is Clem. Clem just went on a 3-0 tear against Spirits, and while that's a different matchup, it certainly gives him all the confidence that he needs. We're actually, you know, going into the original Best of 5 versus Spirit on Friday, he had a poor performance for him in the WTL, which did seem to affect his entire day. You know, I think after that day where he lost to both Firefly as well as Spirits, he did tweet, you know, not a great day, which is the truth, right? For Clem's expectations, we would expect him to defeat both those players rather handedly. And I saw some people like mention in chat, like, I wonder if MaxPax could look at anything that Firefly did to see, you know, some inspiration to try and take on Clem. It's possible. I think it's wise always to do that, and MaxPax is definitely a guy who studies a lot and plays a lot. But I think there's like 2 reasons why this probably won't really affect this series. And that's one, I think Firefly's style is very hit or miss. There are days where it looks like it's the most amazing thing ever, and then everyone talks about the guy, and it is revolutionary PvT, and then other days it looks really flat and really figured out. And then 2, I think MaxPax really likes what he does. You know what I mean? Like, he could be a unique player, but only because, like, the way he plays is a little different, but the way he plays is pretty consistent at the very least. But we actually have a little bit of an interesting opener. This bunker finishing is very awkward because it is within range of one of the shield batteries at the very least. So 2 shield batteries is the way to go. And then the recall of probes with a surround. I mean, that works, but it means maybe 1 or 2 probes could die. No! And now both shield batteries are done. All the probes will live, but then 2 shield batteries had to be built here.
Yeah, second Reaver shows up, going to grenade the probes a little bit, draining a lot of the battery energy as well. This bunker obviously absolutely is going to go down, but we will get the salvage as well. So 75 75 minerals back in the pocket of Clem, and altogether you got to be kind of saying, okay, you know, this was great. So many probes recalled to the gold. Do not mine this entire time as well. Well, you got to be very happy as Clem so far. And the follow-up.
Yeah, that's that was the kerfuffle that you hope for when you go for a bunker and a Reaper, you know? Like, and the best that Protoss can do against that is try and keep a calm head. But at the end of the day, they're going to have to invest into defending into it, which they already don't really like, but then to have to do even more investment because it's in such a weird situation. I mean, you feel pretty good for Clem, but now it is a gold-based mining Protoss. So Clem does need to do something about that. And his choice, 1 base all in. Not what we expect from Clem, but it is happening, man. And MaxPax's Oracle only just getting across the map now. MaxPax has no idea. And this is so unlikely in professional PvT, but I think especially from Clem. This is really cool.
It's different, it's unique, it's obviously built around the idea of what MaxPax is doing on the map, and he's only just now going to start figuring it out as he sees the main base a little bit more easily. I mean, he obviously saw no gold base, but even that could still just be a base on the other side, so I wouldn't even say his full info is there. The Stalker's getting caught, and of course, just in general, you're going to be out of position a lot of the time here, because your bases are so far apart. Oracle will activate. That's going to be able to get a little bit of work done for the foreseeable future as a couple of SCVs go down immediately. This Oracle will chase in for 3 and 4 workers. The Lib and the Marines are setting up. Cyclone actually getting intercepted, so reinforcements are being shut down, but Clem is sieging up in the main base, and he is working his way through pylons, and a super battery has to be popped just to keep the pylons alive, to keep production going at the moment. There's a Void Ray that pops out that will be part of this defense, but Clem just going for the heart of production here of MaxPax.
Losing that Cyclone is going to haunt him, though. Really necessary to deal with the Void Ray. MaxPax so far with an excellent response, making this one base all in look like it's absolutely nothing. It's not over yet. We have more reinforcements finally on the way. But Clem, you know, that card has been shown. MaxPax knows the situation, and that is already making a one base all in much less likely to work. Now it is all about making sure you don't get caught out of position. Against these very positional units, Tank will get 2 shots. Stalkers will get blown apart, as well as that Void Ray. That was a lot to sacrifice to kill the Tank and the Liberator, but it does kill both strong units.
Well, that was a that was a turnaround. I really thought MaxPax was just going to be looking pretty, and then he tries to dive the tank. He loses so much, so many units going down. And, well, an Oracle on the other side still trying to get extra damage. The Viking dealing with it, a new tank showing up. Clem is ahead on army supplies still. His economy is not great, but the army is fine. I mean, MaxPax has money to spend. He's getting 4 additional gateways. That's a big deal. He might actually just be able to hold out long enough to overwhelm his opponent. And that's the problem. Clem is on a little bit of a timer, and that timer is ticking away. Right now, he's kind of stuck not making progress.
No, it's I really like the idea, but I do think that it had to be everything showing up as a surprise in that main base to really get the damage done. Because, like, you might say, like, well, why not just go after kind of like the safe choice and go after the gold base, which is a shorter, I think, rush distance. Should be. And, you know, there's not production there. Of course, they can warp in, but that's a little awkward warping in right into the tank fire. Well, it's because there is the option of also, like, sacking the gold base, depending on how the game works out. Whereas if you did successfully hit the main, like, you just win. You know, you kill all the production and technology, you would just win. Trying to play a game where it's drawn out either way, which is this now is, I would say generally doesn't favor these one base all-ins. We're not in Wing of Liberty anymore, and yeah, it's actually ended up being very easy for MaxPax there.
Oh, well, MaxPax is going to extend his lead to 2-0 as he wins the first played map in the series. Obviously, it's very easy to let the series get away from his Clem for all the hype you bring in for him. It was a 1-0 deficit. You lose the first game. Now you've already kind of, you know, starting to run out of wiggle room a little bit. Obviously, maybe Dynasty is one of the weirder maps. I'm sure the maps coming up are going to be, you know, starting to standardize a little bit. Post-Youth actually comes up next, so maybe not too much immediately. Obviously, Post-Youth is kind of weird in its own right, so we will see as we get more players joining the lobby, and we will be up and away into this in just a few moments, ready for another map of StarCraft 2 here, as Clem looks to get himself on the board and to really start making a series out of this grand final.
I think it's a really cool idea what he tried. It's so unexpected, and there is that vulnerability of having 2 different locations to safeguard for the what ifs, you know, until you scout especially. But you can see all the downsides of a one base all in, and why it isn't done very often. But I love the attempt. It just hopefully doesn't set Clem on an already negative mindset coming in with a loss because he's from the lower bracket, but then also losing a map like that. On the other hand, that could have been a very throwaway build and map. You know, you're like, oh, yep, that's the map. I don't really like it. Maybe he agrees with Here Marine's opinions on it. And so he does a one base all in. You know, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but I expect to lose this map anyway. And if he's thinking that way, then he's already brushed that map off.
Do you like that he dove for the main base instead of setting up on the gold?
I think I do, actually. I think if it wasn't an Oracle opener, which, you know, it's a pretty good chance it's Twilight Council with MaxPax, right? And the scout is so late. It actually just, there's no scout, I guess I should say. There's, like, no scout. And then I do like the idea of killing all the production.
Yeah.
You know, but it just did not work out that way, especially because MaxPax had a safety shield battery in his mineral line defaults. And that helped save that pylon.
Well, MaxPax set himself up correctly in that last game. 2-0 lead for him right now in this best of 7 grand final in the bottom left. That red Protoss player from Sidestorm Gaming is indeed MaxPax.
In the top right, now down 2 for Team Liquid, he is Clem.
Obviously, we will hope to see an expand here from Clem.
I think so.
I would like to see him Yeah, not one base would be nice.
Yeah, I mean, a factory expand's always possible, but
Yeah, that's fine as well.
you know, we're in a map that does have this like in-base natural. I don't know how to put that. It's a very safe natural, even though it's a very short map overall. So I think he's going to go ahead and set up that way. And I guess we can say now that Clem's momentum from defeating Spirit 3-0 has been kind of stopped. But again, if that was his choice, if that was his strategy for an entire best of where he lets that map through that he's actually the most uncomfortable with first, just to kind of get out of the way, does an all-in almost, you know, like a why not thing, then maybe this series hasn't even really started. Not to take away the victory from MaxPax, who did have to handle a potentially very dangerous build. I mean, there is a chance that it is completely unseen and he really fumbles the ball against it and it's a super easy victory for Clem. But yeah, it also kind of feels like it might just be Clem saying this is the real start. But MaxPax wants to continue on with his lead, up to 0 now and trying to go for a little bit of a proxy. This could be extremely dangerous considering how freaking close it is to that natural. Stargate's going to produce an Oracle that swoops right on in, and Clem does like to get aggressive, so sometimes caught without defensive units back at home, like the Cyclone moves out, you know, not back at home, creates a lot of awkwardness.
Is this Reaper is in the main base, has the opportunity to obviously come through and try and spot that there's maybe tech or a pylon missing. Of course, it's up to this Adept to try and zone it back, and that's what we're doing as we fight around the Nexus. Adept actually takes a lot of shots. Reaper range being used well. Clem's micro is on point so far. As he continues to pull backwards, the Adept does still chase though, and again, Clem does not get any info to get close towards dealing with this, and he's going into extra racks. Now, in some ways that's nice because it means more Marines to help defend, but it does mean that he's not going to have like the starport tech so quickly. He does have a factory as well though, so of course he can utilize that as part of the defense, and he's going to get a Cyclone. That feels extremely good against this proxy Stargate.
And with no starport, he definitely won't be out in the map too much. So I do think this is it's a pretty good situation. The Reaper did not get close enough to really confirm that something is amiss. All it saw was the basic setup. Easily could have been second pylon in the back of the mineral line. So no idea for it, but the Oracle's going to show itself, kill an SCV, probably the Mule next. There we go. And then that might be it. Yeah, actually the Cyclone even pops out so perfectly timed, even if there was supposed to be dropped. It was fine. I mean, obviously MaxPax could have also tried waiting until he had more oracles and tried to blitz through and whatnot, but and hope like the timing of the units popping didn't work out so well, but not his choice. And probably better just to let that do the damage that it did. Literally 1 SCV and 1 Mule. And then hope that the second oracle combined with it caused a bit more problems. Clem's expecting this and has units on either side, so it seems this is not going to do the damage MaxPax wants.
Oracle diving in for more extra Marine, but yeah, it does not seem as though this is the damage we've really been setting out to achieve. Stimpack, Combat Shield continuing up, few Marines, Marauders, and the tank coming in from Clem. As you see, the Reaper is going to go after the probe, take that out. Nexus continues in, couple extra gates building. Just have ourselves the Adept continue to shade around over to the left-hand side.
You know, we saw Kelazur, I think, try and do a similar build to this a couple of times in NA on Friday, and he never got to do it. MaxPax, or not MaxPax, Trigger kept interrupting him in really weird games. Finally, we get to see the 3-1 actually do a push, and this has been entirely unscouted from MaxPax. He sees a barracks outside of the front, but I don't think that was actually enough information. So, you know, only now does he really realize what it is, and that's while he's killing a bunch of SCVs, jumping on top of the Cyclone as well. We get ourselves a little bit of an all-in now that the SCVs are all going to die, but it's a all-in that might work. I mean, MaxPax has very few units outside of these oracles.
Yep, he really does not have much at all. Stimpack and Combat Shield's about to be finished. That third base does not look long for this world. The Oracles, I believe, ran out of energy as well, so yeah, they got a couple more SCVs. A new Oracle pops out. That's actually going to be the one dealing damage now. Clem at the very least going to deny the third. Would be very surprised if he didn't make more of a move towards the natural, because especially with the damage he's taking, it feels like he needs more than just taking out the third base at the moment.
Yeah, you can only be so patient and careful about this, you know? Like, you actually have to go. MaxPax able to warp in at least 1 sentry, but no more coming in as of yet. It's going to be just the actual defending units now with the shield batteries all finishing up too. But the choke is going to work against him. Anytime he tries to move forward like that, sentry number 2 does block out the ramp, but every time he gets dragged in even a little bit, you got a tank firing away. The Protoss army barely actually able to tap the frontline units of his opponent. Now a second tank is sieged up, and I mean, MaxPax is going to have to wait to take the engagement when the Terran army is actually in his base, and that's, well, not ideal either.
Juicy Charge is going to be finishing up soon. +1 attacks over halfway done. We have a couple of units still poking forwards and just trying to delay this kind of Bioforce coming up the ramp. I mean, with Charge finishing, Zealots could maybe help, but there goes a couple of the gateways that are being powered. So MaxPax now only has 2 active gates in the game. In fact, I think 1 active gate in the game. So warp-in numbers are not going to be good enough, and that's why Clem's army supply is looking a little bit untouchable, quite frankly. And that's the biggest issue of all right now. If MaxPax could just warp in, I would maybe honestly have a little bit of belief, but he's got no gateways left. There's really running out of chances here. Tank Siege is on the high ground, so we're just going to send it as MaxPax, but it looks as though Clem will probably have enough. I mean, the Oracles come back, they can get rid of all the Marines, so they will eventually defend, but surely way too late.
Yeah, I think so. And actually, they're not going to kill all the tanks. 1 Zealot being produced at a time. Now 2. Second gateway finishing up here. We'll take down the tanks. Yeah, Zealot's going to be pretty good at that. But now the bunker's even getting a couple more units inside of it. I mean, it's almost comical at this point. Can't blame MaxPax for trying, though. It is such a low unit battle that if those gateways did not go down, maybe he actually has enough all combined together with the Oracles coming back. But now it is too far gone. No recovery here. Clem, no doubt, starting to actually macro back on his side of the map. Yeah, MaxPax, fortunately, has let this one, I don't know, slip through, but maybe a little, just because maybe he could have actually done a better job of scouting and seeing this 3-1 coming from a lot longer away.
I think if he just got a sentry up a little bit sooner, the second force field he put down would just let the units up, and that was good enough for Clem, whereas if he just always had a force field available, he could have permanently kept the units on the low ground. Clem's only way to get high ground vision would have been scanning, and even then he couldn't advance his army too much further forward, so I feel like that was maybe a missed opportunity from MaxPax. Maybe that's where this could have been okay. The Oracles will give it a go, but as they go down, we're probably likely to see the GG follow a few moments later, because MaxPax just doesn't have much left at all. 23 supply, and Clem is going to get himself on the scoreboard, but man, it was not clean and it was not easy. And it was definitely, like I say, moments where it kind of felt like MaxPax had a good chance of being able to handle that, deal with it, and everything else. Now, though, Clem is going to make a series of this final.
Yeah, and it's going to be a 2-1. Clem playing perhaps a little unexpected in total, right? So the first game, like I've been saying, maybe it is just like I'll try it, but I don't think it's going to work because it's so rare. Okay, fine. But it is still an all-in, unlike Clem to do. And then the second game even is, I would say, less likely to be seen from Clem. More likely, I feel like, to be seen from, yeah, some of the NA Terrans who do a lot more of those, I think, 2-base committed pushes against Protoss. So he's playing a little bit differently. Maybe because the maps are also a little bit different. We are finally going into an oldie, the Oceanborn map here. You might see more of a typical back and forth between the two. And I really liked your point about the force field. If it had been like exactly well placed, and all the pylons and production is up and running for just, 10 seconds, 15 seconds longer even. I mean, charge is going to be really crucial to breaking out of that contain. It just didn't, it didn't stay a contain. It became an actual rush to the top.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what Clem would do if the force field was there, and I'm just left with is like, you just sit on that low ground. Like, maybe you could siege the tanks up further forward, but you're not going to get up onto the gateways anywhere near as soon. The extra warp-ins and charge finishing might have just been all you needed, and, if you got one force field, in theory, you can have endless force fields, right? Because you would have had time to warp in another sentry, get another force field down, so then you buy all the time that you could possibly need. The Oracles have done a good job across the map. Yeah, it's a big what if, but fortunately for Clem and for us, it did go Clem's way, because now we have a series on our hands. Clem's on the scoreboard, and as he says, it's going to be Oceanborn for our next map, as MaxPax looks to get up onto match point, and Clem looks to even out the series. Big difference, 2-2 versus 3-1. This is the sort of game which really sets the tone for everything else.
Well, it has been a little bit back and forth between the two, actually, overall, with MaxPax also trying to throw in a bit of a cheese. I mean, Proxy Stargate's kind of low on the cheese meter, but he did produce up to 4 or 5 oracles, so I raised it up a little bit. Will they continue where it'll be more of the typical mid-game action between the two. In the top left of Oceanborn, still up in the series, he is MaxPax.
Bottom right, blue Terran player from Team Liquid is Clem. Bringing it back. Definitely being forced to play a bit of an aggressive series, it seems, here, so we will see as the gateway drops down from MaxPax in the main. And of course, Clem just building those barracks at home as well, so no one's going to proxy, at least for now, here in this game, which is a reasonably decent sign of maybe getting a fun little start going. So I'm a fan of that.
Maybe.
We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, mostly expected here. Yeah, I feel like I haven't seen Clem do too many of the proxy single or double Reaper, I guess, single barracks lately. I mean, we talk about typical PVTs and typical MaxPax versus Clems. I mean, there is a lot of that discussion more so around, I guess, the early mid game, but around usually MaxPax's gateway timing. You know, does he go 3 or 4 gate with Blink? That's usually the biggest question. There's been times where he's done certainly less 4 gates. In fact, he kind of stopped doing 4 gates against Clem for a while, just really figuring didn't work out. Oh, okay, Proxy Factory instead. All right. I thought that SCV was going to go scout, you know, to protect itself, protect its home base, but nope. Good to know. And MaxPax is not going to feel, he's not going to feel anything out here, because you can do a factory expand, as we see, with a single gas. And so the timing kind of looks a little weird to the Protoss, who's like, well, I'm denying their command center, and then I'm going to skedaddle. I'm not going to recheck. I didn't even bother checking in the first place to see, you know, if it actually was a factory expand. And actually, well, factories and proxy. You can't produce too many gas-intensive units with this style of it, but yeah, Cyclone isn't too bad nowadays. So I just hope this doesn't end the game abruptly, you know?
It does.
Maybe some longer games.
It does feel like we're on a whirlwind of StarCraft 2 at the moment, and it's just like, yo, can we get put back on the ground for like 10 minutes of a game at least? Everything is just happening so quickly. Kind of a bit crazy. As a couple of Marines will pop out here from Clem. I'm going to come join in at the front. CC is coming up on the natural. The Adept is going to go shading forwards. We move up this ramp and have a little bit of a peek around. Cyclone and the Marines continuing up from Clem. And the Twilight Council from MaxPax is also about to be done. So that's all neat and good, but the Cyclones are building on an aggressive position. And if you don't know that and you don't get batteries up in time as MaxPax, you could be in trouble. First one building now. But I'm going to get aggro in a moment or two with those Cyclones building for the left-hand side.
Yeah, this might still be too late. Oh, he cancels the shield battery. Oh.
Yeah, that's not good.
That is not good at all. The Adept's going to see the Cyclone. Immediate action taken here. Emergency defense. Ooh. But you have no shield. Shield battery would have been so useful. I mean, maybe the pylons will get targeted down, but hot dang, that would have been helpful. Probes pulled as well, but a handful of Marines, a couple of Cyclones. There's going to be damage no matter what.
Pylon is going to just be the target here. There's so much you shut down by getting rid of the pylon. Now the probes are going to start dropping as the Adepts are low, but kept alive at least. A couple new Marines about to show up as well. That Stalker, shield's gone, but still has its hit points as we are getting ourselves a new pylon up in a moment. That's going to be a dead Stalker before it happens, though. I mean, that's going to be a dead Cyclone, but I thought it was going to come at the cost of another Stalker. Not quite the case. Battery going to be drained of energy here in a moment. Another Cyclone is extremely low as MaxPax with the micro to try and keep this alive. Clem with additional barracks behind this. Already killed 7 probes. I think that's the big deal, right? We've already kind of done the damage necessary to just follow up from this in a very macro-centric way as Clem. You know, 7 probes is significant because it's not like he's on one base. He's on an expansion of his own. So this is going to be him just 3 workers behind, but with mules in his favor, he's going to have an income advantage, and he's powering into very powerful units after slowing his opponent down significantly at this portion of the game.
I also think it's really important that MaxPax is in fact going for a 2 gates expansion build. Like, because if he had been building up to a 3 or 4 gate, you know, I guess it was also like an awkward timing. So maybe that was initially his plan, but then things obviously had to change. But if he had the ability to warp in more than 2 units at a time with this warp prism, it'd be really scary because the factory's not producing the entire time it floats back, right? You got your Cyclones and you have 0 tanks. Bunker also would have been maybe like a little bit of a question mark if the Stalkers had immediately counterattacked. I don't know, that would have been a scary point, but it's not. It was a, you know, going to be maybe an expand build. Now MaxPax, knowing that he has to do some damage, is going to try and drop down that Dark Shrine to do something. And I do think it is unlikely a Raven will be built in this situation. I also believe that Clem will go ahead and save some scans. The timing does get kind of weird to tell exactly when a Dark Shrine would appear in this type of game, though. If it's a typical build order, it's, 4:30 to 5 minutes, something like that. But that's kind of what we're coming down to, because the Blink Stalkers should not do a tremendous amount of damage, but the DTs might.
Yeah, I like the DTs. Good little mix-up as these Stalkers just going to put on some light pressure, taking the third behind it. Extra Stalkers warping in, so making Clem really worry about the Stalker count. Obviously gives the DTs a good chance of maybe getting something done, so I like it. I like it a lot. Once you do see these Stalkers trying to push forward, and it's going to be seeing the Cyclones in the bunker holding for the moment. Looks as though we will not break through here as MaxPax going to try again for the bunker. It's going to go down at the cost of a Stalker. Yeah, one Stalker dropping there. I mean, nice to kind of get rid of a bit of the defense, but MaxPax getting pushed away. Clem's about to hit a power point with stim and combat shields. Those DTs are going to have to put in work, actually.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and missile turret coming down in the natural, too. I mean, not only helps to kind of guard a little bit of that natural against some Warp Prism micro, but obviously it helps a lot against any potential DTs that is trying to walk on through. The Warp Prism is still intact, so the DTs do not have to come in through that direction, but it's one less available area. And as you were saying, Clem is ready to go. He's got that great Terran army scouted by MaxPax's observer. MaxPax knows the pacing of PvT here, so knows that he's in some trouble. Can he actually get something done as far as the defense? Decent amount of Stalkers. His control is really good, but still loses a Stalker. No shield battery on the third, so definitely not the best setup. No Archon from those DTs either to try and help out. It is just these Stalkers up against the Bio Ball. Maybe it'll be enough for the shield body overcharge soon to be had, and actually a force field helping, and Immortal popped out to help too. Clem is not going to be able to break through easy peasy. So back at home, what is happening? DT number 1 has been warped in. Number 2 is on the way.
Going to be sending these forwards and just going to try and distract Clem, keep him busy for a little bit. Clem might see the shimmer there depending on what he's looking at, but that DT gets passed over the left side. The DT going to come in via the prism into the natural. There's a turret there, so this is not really where you want your DT to be. We're going to try and go to the main instead, but this does not feel as though that's going to really work out. We do have Stalkers on the front as well from MaxPax. Going to try and find something. Good scan from Clem. Across the board, the defense is just spot on so far, isn't it? He's just not letting any opening come through. Exactly what you need to see if you want to see Clem looking good at this point in time.
Yeah, he definitely saw that shimmer. I think he saw it like after the DT initially showed itself, right? But he definitely saw it, started moving over to it. Oh, that's 2 Wind of Mines! Oh! Actually, he didn't even need a second Wind of Mine to hit. This is where it got the job done. Yeah, I know. Clem is playing super well, because I think he also 100% predicted that the Stalkers would try and find some units in movement, because MaxPax is usually so good at that, You think you're only defending against the DTs. The Stalkers shouldn't be that much of a problem against the Bio Ball, because you're moving around so much. A couple Marauders get AI'd or whatever. And Clem just anticipated everything really nicely there. MaxPax, ton of trouble. Those DTs are supposed to do a lot more damage, or at the very least buy a lot more time. Warp Prism is supposed to be there to threaten. Keep Clem just not focusing entirely on the offensive. But now Clem can, and that is a much bigger army with +1 this time around.
I'm going to turn around, hit a couple of Stalkers, and we are up 30 army supply. And a little bit of change beyond that as well, as this 4th base of MaxPax is going to be a tough hold, because this is not set up with stacked defense or anything just yet. It is fresh and new. It's an instant cancel, an easy decision for MaxPax, but honestly, this army, what are we doing? Move commands down. Force field will, I don't want to say save the day, maybe buy you a few extra seconds as the Colossus showing up. Maybe those force fields do save the day, because the Colossus gets to come in because of it. 3 Immortals are still a little bit beefy to kind of jump on, but just the size of this army from Clem, it's possible he could just decide to take this trade, honestly.
Well, at the very least, he can juke, force the overcharge, because you can't not go for it, and then just wait that out. That will be maybe another Colossus and another, warp in, but that's still such a powerful bio army. But, I'd say as long as the shield battery isn't there, he's got a chance to certainly trade very efficiently. There's a lot of Marauders in here, so it's not like 1 or even 2 Colossus are really going to kill things. It's those Immortals, which might not be shooting the right thing every single time, might not even be shooting if they're not in range. It gets a little awkward. One Immortal does get sniped, but yeah, a lot of the army of Clem, I think, was dealing with something else. So Clem not going to take this particular fight. Now regrouping, still up 30 army supply. Now with Ghosts about to be on the field as well. Vikings coming out as well. I mean, MaxPax, he actually has made comebacks at this type of supply. He absolutely has, but he hasn't gotten any of his usual tricks here, and again, no Warp Prism to even threaten.
Yeah, he's just missing a lot of the tools he would need to typically bring this back at this point as the bio can start to work onto a couple of those Zealots. A single Viking poking and prodding the Colossus. And again, Clem just threatening by being out the front here. Ghosts on the way, so his army only going to get better as they arrive. They start to drop some EMPs. Apparently this is going to be it for Clem. He's going to decide to start attacking in, kite those Zealots back. Vikings obviously can start onto the Colossus, and again, the numbers just are not here for MaxPax. The Zealots are melting with no armor upgrade, and Clem comfortably is going to take a game number 4. And that means that it's going to be 2-2. We really do have a finals on our hands as it's all tied up. MaxPax's 2-0 lead really disappears very quickly, as has been kind of the case of the entire day today. Speed has been of the essence, and now it's all tied up 2-2. Next player to win a map is actually going to go up onto match and tournament point.
Yeah. Yeah, things have certainly turned around. My gut, or perhaps my bias, either one, this says that Clem is like his plan is working out. You know, again, that first map might have just been, why not try it? But I don't expect to win it. Yeah, the next two, he is still trying some interesting openers, but you know, this time they're actually working. They're doing the appropriate amount of damage that he can at least say that he controls this situation to a certain extent. Certainly the last game. So he's getting ramped up again, I guess is what I'm saying, and it's up to MaxPax to try and full stop the momentum, which is usually what he's really good at. He can, you know, stop momentum as far as best ofs go, as far as tournament runs go, and as far as games go. You know, Clem could easily could have started to fumble the ball in a game like last, actually, if that War Prism was around. If Zealots had a little more freedom to go for those run bys that typically happen. I mean, MaxPax is just so good at being insistent on those types of things, but Clem had to lock down his bases very nicely in that particular one.
Site data for the next game here as MaxPax and Clem have readied up, and we're heading into another map here to see who will take the lead. Will Clem take his first lead of the series, 3 in a row? Would be feeling great for him. Can MaxPax break that momentum a little bit and get another map for himself right now and put himself one away? As we get site delta loading on up. This grand final continues to get a little bit deeper along here in the European regionals. Of course, all these guys qualified for Dallas, the offline finals and all of that. But there's still big prize money on the line. And, you know, being the champion of Europe, it's something we talk about. You know, this is something we absolutely, you know, keep in the talking points when it comes to, you know, talking about these guys and their kind of prowess and what they've been able to get done across the course of their careers. So, big match. Huge opportunity for MaxPax to win his first, as he is going to spawn in as the red Protoss in the bottom right-hand side. This is MaxPax.
And I said he didn't often do it, but he's doing it this time. The top left going for a proxy racks. He is Clem. I said it's game 3 or something, but he was like, yeah, obviously you can throw the proxy racks in versus any Protoss, but I was trying to think of exactly when last time it happened. To be fair, I hadn't seen the last couple of times they played against each other. But it is happening here on Site Delta. So Clem really seems to be all about that type of control game. You know, a lot of the times in other best of series between the two, it is just Clem doing a very normal Terran build order, maybe a factor expand, but still expanding. And then MaxPax is kind of like 3-gate, 4-gate, does he win with it? And it's just really not going that way. Clem either going for the super early aggression or MaxPax with that proxy Stargate. This time it is Clem who first off will get the control of the game. MaxPax knows this, he scouts it, that's expected. What is hoped, I suppose, what the Terran wants is for the Protoss to really mess up execution, even though they have the knowledge.
Nexus gets placed, and SCV here wants to be a little bit annoying. Probe sees the SCV, and the SCV is going to run in, put that bunker down. Annoying position because we're going to wall with the minerals in the Nexus, so the SCV can jump to different sides, so it's difficult to stop this with the probe. As you can see, Terrans are very good at keeping their SCV on the wrong side of the probe. So that goes one side, then the other, and of course the Reaper is coming soon, so this bunker already halfway done now. The SCV taking a few more shots of damage, and yeah, the Reaper is going to be here to deflect the probe, and that means this bunker gets up. Actually, that pylon is in reach of the bunker as well, which is a concern usually, because that means it's somewhat targetable. Obviously, as long as the battery isn't in reach, it's usually still okay, but right now we're not even getting the battery started, and yeah, that's not ideal.
No. And these are the types of mistakes that can happen even at this top level, just just because, I mean, he absolutely knew what was happening from the get-go and could have been a little more cautious about the pylon placement, but as you said, usually it's like the shield battery can finish and then save that pylon, but the shield battery really wasn't that fast this time around, so I'm not sure that's the case here with 2 Reapers. That's the real kicker here. 2 Reapers now. That's why it's in question. Should finish, though. Should finish, should be all right, and this will be cleaned up. Once again, the Protoss having to change up a little bit just to defend, but the Terran not getting too much of the kerfuffle. It's actually not even going to be able to salvage the bunker this time around. No, yes, he will, because the Stalkers go after the Reapers. 3 Reapers, by the way. 3 Reapers in total. That's scary if they ever get a backstab.
Quite an investment. But you're right, it is scary because if they jump into a mineral line, boom, you are killing probes in 2 shots, and that's obviously very powerful. However, that's not the Reaper you want to jump up there. And that's going to be now 2 Reapers, a lot less scary. And that's actually a pretty big deal. Just a mistake from Clem as well, completely unnecessary to hop up. Especially, it was just unfortunate timing, I guess, right? Because he takes the first shot, he hops up, that Reaper's then basically dead. He's going into the Cyclone Medevac, he wants to keep the pressure going, so this would really be nice to have all Reapers alive, because I guess the idea is the Cyclones are going to drop, and then the Reapers could have been elsewhere, or just powered up the attack with the Cyclones as well. Pick and choose your poison. As Clem does deny the probe coming out towards a 3rd location, so it's going to be able to get one more there with the 2 Reapers. MaxPax heading into Phoenix to try and help him deny this incoming aggression.
Hopefully it will. Phoenix can be a little tricky. Fantastic if they just find the medevac over dead space, but a little less so if both Cyclones drop out and the Phoenix aren't helped, which is what I'm most concerned about. Especially if the 2 Reapers are still threatening some other type of, the natural, I guess, or the main, whichever way else the Cyclones go. So Clem now has a natural command center, but it is still not an orbital, so again, a significant delay on his economy. Here comes the medevac drop. Phoenix are in position. And MaxPax isn't moving the rest of his army, particularly outside of the bases, so they can come back and help if they need to. They will not. Medevac's not going to even try and chance it. Not with the threat of even more Phoenix, some Warpins, and the rest of the army coming through. Not worth it. Perhaps it will be worth it if he can get some type of like tri-pronged pressure going on. Medevac, Reapers, and Banshees. If the Cyclones are actually chased after and killed, so it's at least one prong gone.
Yeah, the Cyclone's getting cleaned up as we'll have one more lift, so this is going to work out. The Reapers try and dive through, and it's going to be another prong taken out. And we've gone from a fork to a knife over the last couple of moments. As, this Banshee's going to have to just try and cut its way through some mineral lines, try and get something done, because it feels like Clem is kind of missing on every front so far.
And the Banshees aren't going to be a surprise, unfortunately. These Phoenix are going to get in here and see a researching tech lab, and that really only means one thing. Well, technically, I guess it could be a Raven, but dedicating to Raven still versus Phoenix, so yeah, should know about it. Still means, though, that there's not units in position. And a very untimely supply block. There is one observer on the field, but it's coming back. Actually, that was an Immortal being built anyway, so I guess he figured the Observer would be here, but it's just now unfortunate placement. The Banshee is going to find damage, despite MaxPax getting a little bit of a heads up. Just unfortunate timing on some of the things. The Observer placement, the shield battery. 6 probes killed for the Banshee that lives to be paired up later. Oh, no, never mind, actually.
The other one died with Phoenix, yeah.
That's right. Still, better than expected. Maybe that can come in at a really good time and kill another 6 probes.
Phoenix going to grab some SCVs to undo a little bit of what's just been done on the other side. Do you have one more lift for that fresh meal? Looks like no. He gets a few SCVs. MaxPax will maintain a 6-7 worker lead, so keeping the economy in his favor. And yeah, it was nice to see Clem get something done, but like I say, with the second Banshee getting shut down by the Phoenix, kind of feels like that was it. That was the Banshee harass, and now, well, it's going to be down to this bio army as we do move into Stim +1 combat shield. All of that coming in. Of course, MaxPax's preparations with splash damage are progressing, with the Colossus now on the way through, halfway done. Extended Thermal Lance coming up as well, and that's what you really need here to make sure you can deal with this larger bio army. Some reliable splash, and we are very much so on the way to get in there.
Only one observer kept back on home, wary of the Banshee. Means that there's outside of the Phoenix being in the right place at the right time, there's nothing to see this triple drop. Kind of hard to call it a doom drop. It's not even completely full, but it is still going to be scary. Phoenix, obviously a major portion of MaxPax's army. So much dedication to those Phoenix, too. 8 of them. And if they're out of position or recalled back into the fight, it gets really awkward. I want to recall these fragile units on top of Marines already unloaded, already stimmed. Here we go. Shiobade overcharge immediately popped. Army comes back at pretty much the perfect timing as well. The Phoenix did not overstay their welcome on the offensive, so they're here to ensure that there's some type of punishment. One medevac already went down. Second one will avoid dying for now. There's just literally so many Phoenix that MaxPax actually decided to go for it. Maybe that was a mistake. Does realize it, pulls back for losing a second Phoenix.
Gets out of there as we do have this Banshee gonna get a couple more probies. So it's just coming in, and there's some extra probes going down. The extended thermal land still coming through. Stalkers, Colossus, Phoenix all building up. Medevac, Marine Marauder coming out. Couple Widow Mines. And finally this Phoenix might be able to finish off the Banshee. So no more Banshee harass for Clem. With an army around the map, gonna potentially be able to join this up together. We'll see if he can get a bit of a bigger push going for himself. Next couple of moments as the bio gathers and he gets set to maybe attack into this third base. It looks like the plan from Clem right now.
Really important, the observer is going to see the collapse of the Terran army. Everything's combined together, so MaxPax does the same in the nick of time as well. I actually force fields and Colossus using this choke is going to buy him time regardless, but that's kind of a trick, right? You know, you want to make sure you aren't being dropped with the Phoenix, but you also want to make sure that you're not just being overwhelmed as the Phoenix try and stop drops. Because two Colossus are standing on kind of shaky legs without some appropriate fodder units in front of them or appropriate force field slap down. MaxPax doing a wonderful job defending as we would expect as we finally get one of those more typical macro games. Big old pickup, but a little too close to those Phoenix for comfort. Clem not going to execute it. Third CC on location being built will finally finish. But obviously MaxPax has been able to gain some leads in the economy. Occasionally Clem has spiked, but feeling better as the game goes on. MaxPax does need some upgrades, though. He is only now working on that +1 attack. Charge finishing Templar Archives, about halfway done.
Definitely a potential in what MaxPax is building, but you're right. He kind of needs to get a bunch of stuff there right now to really be okay with all of this. You have the bio. Definitely backing it up as well as Clem falls back home. The Ghosts and Vikings taken to the stage, and as he just gets his third CC online, ready to play the next step of this. MaxPax will add on some Archons, but not really the great time to add Archons. This Ghosts are kind of arriving. It feels like I'd much rather see that Storm upgrade start up on the Temple Archives and see that as the additional splash that MaxPax brings into play. I get the Archons are maybe a more immediate answer, but like I say, with Ghosts out, I'm not convinced they're going to really get much of a job done.
And 3 Ghosts is still a pretty magical number, even though their EMP radius has been reduced over and over and over again. It's still pretty magical as far as collecting the shields of a very balled up Protoss army. That's what the Protoss army has to do. So yeah, I'm with you. The Archons, you know, they seem big bad right now, but then they get popped pretty quickly if the EMPs are on point. Clem preparing for a very big push. He's got all of the types of units that he would need. A slight army supply lead, but now the upgrades have finished up. He never got that +1 armor. He is attacking into the 4th base when MaxPax is out of position, however, so this is a good start for him. I mean, is MaxPax going to try and defend this? Yes, he will. Going to try and go after everything. EMPs are coming down. Phoenix without shields. Vikings aren't target firing the Colossus. They are trying to take down the Phoenix, which means the Colossus have been burning through the Terran army. And Clem will go ahead and tap out, being unable to tackle the Protoss army or the 4th base.
MaxPax takes it to match point, a map away from being a European champion as Clem just runs out of steam on that attack. Just could not really get his way through to those Colossus. They were just lasering away throughout the entirety of it. And obviously that became quite a costly affair over the course of it. So with that said, we are going to get ready for a Game 6, which could be potentially MaxPax's European Championship. We'll find out whether it will happen or whether Clem will take us all the way to a final map. Honestly, kind of cool. I mean, honestly, I feel like both storylines here are kind of cool, right? Clem's like, you know, going to win another EU event, which is just like his hometown, of course. You know, that's always cool. On the other side, you've got MaxPax who's looking to do it for the first time. It's two extremes, right? Like two players who've always been on the top, but then one guy who just keeps on winning here, one guy who's trying to win for the first time. Who will it be right now? That man looking for his first rodeo is going to be up. And he just needs one map to round it out. It's Alcyone. The players are ready, so we should just be able to immediately get into this and keep the games moving. At least we saw something a little bit longer, although it did still feel like a lot of that early aggression kind of had an impact on the game as Clem just kind of fizzled after not doing too much early.
Yeah, he had this idea, as I was saying, to maybe even have like a fork, a multi-pronged attack, and then that just never happened. The one Banshee getting as many kills as she did is like it was something. It really was not the master plan. But now we go into a map that has favored the Terran, I suppose, and in this tournament at the very least. So there's something there, and I do believe these two are well matched enough that we could easily get a Game 7. But you're right. Storyline here is MaxPax either gets his first European regional win, or Clem continues to show that he dominates. We thought that he would. I thought that he would. When we knew that Raynor was going to be playing with Ping and Cyril wasn't going to be playing at all. But MaxPax is really bringing it to him. We spawn here on map 6 in the bottom left. For Psystorm Gaming, he is MaxPax.
On the top right-hand side, looking to take us to the full best of 7. It is going to be our blue Terran from Team Liquid, Clem.
So we got ourselves a little bit of a macro game in the last map, but it was marred by the early game for Clem. And despite his attempt to kind of one-punch his way through, that did not end up working out. So he's still going to try and go for some little cleverness, a little bit, not as dedicated, however. It's a hidden barracks, not a proxy, hoping to get MaxPax to over-defend. Let's see if he does, because his probe is out on the hunt, and it would be wise of him to check the main, see there's no barracks, and then go ahead and check a little bit around the natural, maybe even a little bit around the third. Can also be a common place for that's not proxied hidden barracks.
Yeah, let's we'll see what the move is here in just a sec. A probe gets all the way up into the main, and it's going to help us take note of this. So we'll just see what the scouting pattern is going to be here from MaxPax as he just tries to figure things out. Of course, he sees double gas, so there's all the reasons to be concerned. As Clem will put the factory down early. If MaxPax can stick around to see the factory in the main, at least that would be something to be like, okay, well, you know what? Now I kind of know that your factory is here. At least that's not a proxy. And like I say, that's, you know, part of some good info. And he's going to get to see that now. The probe gets trapped in, though, for seeing this. And so you are going to be losing this probe as the Reaper pops. As the benefit of the barracks being back here, it means that this probe is now guaranteed to go down. Cleaned up early, and that probe just falls and then does not get any further info beyond what it's already seen.
Yeah, that is true. Could, you know, apparently, according to this series, it could be an entire one base. Not often it's gonna happen, but Clem did it in their first map of the day. Reaper takes out the probe like you were saying, so no further scouting to be done. I'd be very, very much shocked if there was another one base all in. It is 100% going to be a command center on location as well. Not going to play shy here. MaxPax did grab a Zealot, the expected response to not seeing a barracks back on your opponent's base. Sometimes the Zealot can be even something MaxPax was already planning on doing. But then really you'd hope the Zealot, you know, is paired up with something else behind it, like an Adept that's also chasing over, and then the Zealot doesn't get found out like it did here. It was completely alone for so long, it's already at half health, so any form of minor aggression on Clem's natural, probably not going to work at this point.
No, most likely not the case. Obviously MaxPax's target coming up to being halfway done, so we'll just get oracles and be able to use that for information throughout the course of the next couple of minutes. As the Reaper comes in, I would love to obviously just double confirm everything that's going on. He's already going to hit a few probes. Stalkers show up. Time to try and play the getaway game, and he is going to be out of there. Oh, no we're not. One last Stalker shot is good.
Yeah, that is a bummer. Didn't actually see the Stargate after all, and he also has seen a lot of Stalker production, which, you know, maybe if it was all Adepts, there'd be a little bit more of a hesitation, like, okay, could it be Stargate? Nope, it is Stargate with Phoenix. It is going to be first Phoenix out very soon. Shield battery, nice and safe in the natural, all right? So Clem, if you wanted to try and get some early aggression, might have actually even had a good time against a budding Phoenix count, just because, again, those units are so fragile. They, you know, they could be really good and also really bad if you use them inappropriately. But that's not what he's going to be looking for, not immediately. We do have ourselves a 3-1 setup once again. So this is what he did on post-youth, right? That needs to be scouted, and the Phoenix is going for that initial scouts. If you don't know what your opponent is doing, sometimes the more scared Protoss might keep that Phoenix at home and not get any scouting whatsoever, and that is really bad news if you're actually up against a 3-1. It looks like a 2-1 right now because that third barrack stayed where it was in the natural, so I wonder if MaxPax is actually picking up on this.
Yeah, it could be a Obviously good to kind of just know the exact numbers here as Phoenix will be still back out into the maps. They really are just feeling good to adventure forwards. Clem is on the move, obviously getting kind of a push out early, but as Stim and Combat Shields finish, he would already be in position to take advantage of them, and we're still a minute away, so this is kind of definitely a pre-upgrade push out. We'll see how that goes with the Daniel continuing through the center, taking the Watchtower. Again, Stim and Combat Shields are halfway done. And Phoenix is going to return back as he is going to keep an eye and see that this army is here, so now MaxPax's decision on to how to try and approach this.
So I think he did figure it out, or at least he was cautious, because a second shield battery on the front line was built and is already done. Another one is on the way, as he is going to have to take a lot of damage to the front line before he's really prepared to break out. You know, he does not have a very big army right now. Colossus might have been the original plan, but I wouldn't mind a Disruptor. Clem sees a prepared Protoss already on the front lines, already with the shield battery well placed. It's going to take a lot of time for him to actually get someplace to, that's dangerous. You know, tanks taking out shield batteries and pylon is only so good. So Clem actually is going to decide to back up, at least temporarily. I mean, I think what this means that he's never going to pull the trigger. Unless MaxPax does it for him, I guess. And instead he's going to actually kind of more so wait for the medevacs. But if he can get these tanks to take out the shield batteries before those medevacs arrive, then that's is even better. Just got to be very careful not to get overwhelmed. MaxPax is going to go for the Colossus, by the way. That's going to burn through the Marines really quickly, but be vulnerable to the tanks, obviously.
Need to be super careful with this engagement. You basically need the tanks to not kill the Colossus, because you need the Colossus against the Marines. As Clem is going to back it off, so we'll just stay a siege. Just kind of afraid of maybe being chased down a little bit. Not putting on much further pressure right now. As the Phoenix are also kind of sitting there so they can kind of watch for reinforcements. Obviously, they see a few Marines and a tank coming. And it's nice to see little groups of units because it means it's less likely the Phoenix decide to commit onto it. They'll actually find a tank in the front, though, so that's going to be a nice catch. SCVs pull instantly. Is that good enough of a repair? It is. Oh, maybe the extra Phoenix? Oh, my goodness. It's just not enough.
Oh, it's so close. That's so close.
Oh, we got it.
The tank does go down. All right, tank dead, and so much lost mining time from a decent amount of SCVs as well. But Clem is still knocking on the front door. 4 tanks siege up here. Medevacs actually not being built. Is going to go for Vikings right off the bat. That is, I mean, it's a decision you have to make, isn't it? But one Stim going to severely injure these Marines. 2 Colossus working on the third's going to burn them so quickly. And I guess that is the question. Do the tanks kill the Colossus first, or the Colossus kill the Marines first?
Great question. I mean, honestly, it feels as though it could go any which way. These tanks pulling back, one of them sieging up on the ramp, the other couple will siege as well. Bio continues to move around here. Twilight Council finishing up from MaxPax. So we got that Twilight completed charge on the way. So he immediately gets set up into something that would help him big time if he can survive to it. He's expanding on the left as well. And still just using these Phoenix to shut down some reinforcements. It's terrifying attacking into 4 tanks, but if you can stop a lot of the other units from kind of showing up and joining in with this, I mean, eventually this becomes better for you. Again, extended thermal lance up. And these Phoenix are going to lose one of their numbers, but we do get rid of a Viking and a Marine, so I want to say I don't hit it too much. Going to do a couple more lifts here, and we do get rid of another Phoenix. Now the rest of these Phoenix are starting to look low, and this has started to backfire big time for MaxPax. Says, no, this is completely disastrous.
Yeah, very unfortunate timing. Some of the Marines popped, I think, which, you know, just a little bit extra was there, but then obviously the Vikings popping when they did. He thought he had a snowball. He thought he was going to kill the Vikings that were there and then camp the starport, and it didn't work out timing-wise. So he is forced to recall with now only 3 Phoenix to his name. 4th is on the way, but after losing 4 Phoenix, I'm sure Roddy is shaking his head right now. It is concerning. And Clem, you know, a lot of his game plan didn't necessarily work out. If your game plan is like, I hope this wins right off the bat, well, that didn't work out. But that's a little too easy against MaxPax, isn't it? But then maybe you think that, you know, you're going to do something a little bit later. Well, that also doesn't happen. Like, technically, Clem never took a fight. But just by providing this pressure and then trying to play a macro game regardless of his intentions, is kind of, you know, it's about waiting for the other guy to screw up a little bit. Get overeager, try and break out too soon, try and get too fancy for some of the units. And that kind of happened with the Phoenix. Let's see if that impacts this paddle. I mean, that is yeah, you're just not going to run into that easy peasy. And now the Phoenix numbers are smaller, that maybe they will not dive on the tank successfully to take them out of the fight.
Single Zug going to take the Watchtower. Single Marine sits on it as well. The rest of this army is seeing, can MaxPax find a way to fight this? I mean, again, you got to be careful with the fights you pick here as, the Colossus now goes down. Or the fights you pick here is Clem, because we're still playing no medevacs. We're finally building the first 2 now. But yeah, if you take any damage from a stim or anything, it's pretty final damage until those medevacs get across and heal. And even then, there's not going to be a lot of them. Third base of MaxPax is just going to get straight up siege. He has a prism heading across the map, but this army has been able to kind of just wander in position. And this is where if you had a few more Phoenix, you could have done so much more. We're going to lift these tanks and just try and let the engagement happen. Zealot Archon going to go around the left-hand side, but the bio number there is looking very good to clean that up. The tanks are going to town on the Colossus, and I think this is a pretty one-sided affair here from Clem, who is going to take us all the way to a final map in this grand final.
Not the easiest game at all, and there is a lot of decision-making and a lot of like mental game there. You know, there's so much of non-action, I guess, that it might have seemed like a boring game or like an easy game to someone who wasn't paying attention until the very last 30 seconds. In which case you're like, well, Clem just looks like he's going to win. But there is a lot to decide there. That is an extraordinarily difficult game for both sides to really read perfectly, especially when you have people who are able to, I guess, call an audible, right, and do something different. So did MaxPax have a solid shot in that game? I think so. You know, and seriously, if he did not use his Phoenix in such a way, their numbers of 8, I think they would have been at 8. For the entire game, you know, leading up to that push would have done more, and then at the push would have helped more, and then he might have also been able to track the push a little bit better so that third didn't get immediately bombarded. Like, it could have been huge. But like I was saying in the game, like Clem kind of has to go like, well, I was going to zig, but now I have to zag, and now I'm going to zig again because I'm still pushing in prior to medevac, which is a little bit weird. Maybe you didn't expect that. And it's just so difficult to read exactly how that's going to play out. So that worked out well for Clem. The whole like difficulty reading the game worked out, but honestly, those types of pushes, when they don't just win the game, I don't know about you, but I get really scared for the Terran. So I was scared for Clem for a lot of that game. And it seems like he is insistent on doing these types of builds. And I just wonder if they're going to work to the point that he wins an entire best of 7. Final map coming in here. Does Clem once again do more dedicated mid-game or early game even type of cheese when everything is on the line? Or does he play finally into like a standard 1-Rax 1-1-1? It's Amphion, so it's a bit of a unique map. Maybe things will get crazy on both sides.
It's definitely a heck of a map to play the final game on, right? Expansion patterns are wild. Layout is interesting. And what comes down to this for these two as we look to crown champion of Europe. In the bottom left-hand corner, we have got ourselves the red Protoss player. Representing Systorm Gaming, it is MaxPax.
In the top left for Team Liquid, he is Clem.
What do you think, CG? What build would you like to see?
I really don't know. I really don't. You know, this entire best of 7 has not really played out the way that I would have guessed if you had asked me to predict every game. I would have taken the challenge. I would have said at least 2 games go MaxPax's way because of really good 3-gate aggression into really good control with Warp Prism charge out run buys, because that's so many of his games. And not a single game has actually been like that. The closest we got was him trying to go for a third base, so not really close at all, and then trying to use those DTs to, you know, buy time and run amok, and yeah, that didn't work either. So everything down to MaxPax's, I guess, ability to play his usual play style, to Clem's throwing a wrench into things, build order-wise, has left me uncertain about the finale, especially when it is on one of the newer, weirder maps.
Now, this map definitely leaves you kind of with some questions as to what the heck is about to happen. It's very tense as well, of course. Do not want to kind of do something funky and then it just doesn't work for you and it all falls apart. So, intense couple of moments. We have our Cybercore Nexus coming up, our probe on the way. Our CC drops down. Everyone just playing it normal for the moment. That's a reactor after Marine, though. So, very quick to the reactor. Maybe something to note from that a bit further down the line. No Reaper obviously means you're now going to have Reactor and Factory a little sooner, but that is a pylon very far forward too. I think we'll see something from that. Maybe just looking to block Reapers.
Yeah, probably, which is, you know, not going to be useful this time around. I immediately started thinking about a factory with Starport, and obviously it's not a proxy drop, but like trying to drop. That's kind of on the nose, and so maybe the Protoss player always goes for a Stargate here and Phoenix here because they don't want to be dropped on this close by air map, but then sometimes you know, the most obvious thing is too obvious, and so it works, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Not going to be the case. Clem did throw down a second barracks first, then a factory. So, would he do another early game? I mean, he might present some type of push and hope that MaxPax scouts in correctly, but MaxPax is going for an Adept Scout. That will scout the natural, obviously, and a little bit of the main, and then whatever pops out of the Stargate will scout the rest ASAP. MaxPax did have a kind of heads up in the last game about what was going down. It just, again, was such a difficult game to read that it wasn't as simple as knowledge is power. You needed to actually get the proper execution at every step. That is faster stim. 2-1-1. It wasn't the drop that I was thinking of, but it is going to ultimately be a drop.
Very Clem as well. 2-1-1 allows you to be on the map early, be active, be aggressive, kind of get units to just have a good shot at getting stuff done. As you play the chase down on those adepts, both of them get away with low HP. But yeah, stim pack already on the way through, so very powerful. This is the kind of thing where if you're not immediately ready for it, it can just shred you. And especially as you're playing like an Oracle into Twilight, I get a little bit afraid that Clem has the potential of just, you know, shooting down the Stargate units and just overwhelming. If there's not enough gateway units there at first from MaxPax, Clem's army can do so well. And it's actually very important, I think, that these adepts do not die, because if those adepts go down, there's going to be even less for Clem to work with. Here's the Stargate unit, obviously, here that will scout exactly what's going on in this main base. As it comes around, it will see the second racks and stim. It will see the starport on the reactor. So now MaxPax knows. Now it's up to him to figure out what he can do defensively, what units he can prepare with. Starts to blink of the Twilight. That's expected, but again, it's a long way until blink is done. How much can he do before then?
Yeah, what do you get when you see this at this point in time as the Protoss player? You know, you do kind of have to rearrange your thought process here. You're like, well, first I do this, then I get a little bit of scouting. He might not be ready to attack me, you know, if he's playing defensively into, you know, simple what am I dropping a tank, something like that. But, you know, now there's a kind of large army that could arrive. I'm not 100% certain where it's going to arrive, because I do not track the medevacs. And that gets really, really scary. The Oracle doesn't track the medevacs, but at least it gets a couple of SCVs and will survive away from the Cyclone. MaxPax also did mine out to his triangle third, which isn't always the case in any of these matchups on this map, but I could see it being a very good idea. This time around, it just causes a cancel. Still no blink, by the way, guys. No shield battery over here either. Those Stalkers, very vulnerable. Adepts come in a little late, but it is going to be good enough. Everything combined together, and Clem is going to go to greener pastures in the main base. That's a bit of an Artosis pylon. Could go for it to delay blink. Isn't going to try, especially because, you know, he doesn't know when blink is going to finish. Don't want to dive on it, not stop it, and then get blinked upon and lose you 2 medevacs.
You want to keep these units alive. I think the follow-up is obviously scary if you've got these 2 medevacs still about and then more units popping out at home. 8 probes going down is definitely a great start. Cyclone's going to lock onto the Oracle to chase that away as well, so that will get pushed back also here. The 2 medevacs are going to continue back up the right-hand side. So I'm actually going to keep everything alive while having done some good damage. And with upgrades finishing, definitely starting to hit a little bit of a power spike for him while MaxPax sits on okay. It's like, woohoo, I've got blink. A couple of Stalkers, and that's really about it right now. So not a lot for MaxPax to work with. And of course, he's not even continuing his tech right now. No charge on the way. Okay, he's going to drop down a Forge. So,
I mean, could he go into, you know, just like a mass gateway style, you know, bringing it back to the first game of the series, the start of our cast? You know, I mentioned that we were bringing up even like Firefly, and that's a lot of like, you know, mass gateway Firefly stuff. I just didn't think it was really going to be worthwhile, because I don't think Clem's going to lose to Firefly again anytime soon, and just that style in general can be not necessarily what MaxPax does all the time. He can do it, obviously, but I feel like I have been seeing so many just very typical blink into Colossus, or Phoenix into Colossus, obviously. But Mass Gateway might just be the plan, still only on 3 gases. I'm also concerned about that plan just because you did lose some of your economy, and it really requires quite the build-up. You know, big economy, then big amount of charge lots coming in, perfectly timed. And it's not going to happen, and the Stalkers also get corralled. Clem takes down the army that is out there to try and stall this out, and now has revealed a gigantic weakness.
I mean, that's a lot of Stalkers. Stalkers are the sort of unit you do not want to be building a second time. The charge is nowhere near being done, so this is just pure Stalkers versus Bio. The super battery should go down there. It is. Probes start to pull in as MaxPax realizes the trouble he's in. We have got Marauders here, so they're going to shred through the Stalkers if they get in range, and obviously that's starting to happen. Stalker Blink is on cooldown already, and the Stalker numbers are dropping. Probes are pulling in. They are going to be dying, and Clem is doing masses of damage. Even if he doesn't clean up completely right now, his damage done is going to put him into a fantastic position. These last few Marauders will be so tough to get rid of, as MaxPax cannot stay alive, and Clem is once again the European champion of the ESL SC2 Masters.
For the nth time here, he is pretty dominant in the European regionals.